Hi, I'm Landon Eli with TV Studio interviewing local legend John Schaefferkoetter. How's it going today, John?
Buddy, besides fighting a cold, I'm not too bad. But that's part of the winter in Missouri. But besides that, life is great. God is great.
That's good. That's good. Uh, Tell me about your time in Owensville and the community you've grown up with.
Well, it starts way back when. I was born back in '63. My mom and dad actually they worked at Brown Shoe Company for 40 some years, and they've had a family farm too. So I was part of the Hambro gang. Um, that's part where I lived on Cherry Street. I don't know where you know where that's at. Next to
Yeah.
Apple Street, next to Pear Street. It's basically on the north end of town.
Mm-hmm.
Small home. I remember my bedroom is an attic, so it was very hot in August and it was very cold in January. But I guarantee you, it built character. So the good thing about it is that we were so blessed with a great school system here. How we ended up, my mom and dad, grandma and grandpa had ended up in this area. We are so blessed. Um, Going through the school system was just incredible. I commend and still think about the great teachers that mentored me as I got into. My brother was a sports enthusiast and later become a legendary coach. He got me into the sports scene and to keep me out of trouble, which is a very good thing. Um, I practiced, I practiced, I practiced. My friends and I, we practiced, we practiced, we practiced. Um, and I'll never forget times like when I took go to my dad and say, "Hey, Dad, I want to play football," and he says, that's fine, but you have chores on the farm that you have to do." So by the time it got high school time, it was 2 days. So he said, "Okay, you know the drill." So practice would start at 6 in the morning, and he would expect me to be in the hayfield until the next practice. So we did that every day for 4 years. And yes, was it tough? But man, it did teach work ethics and it taught character. And even though I thought it was very, very difficult and hard at the time, I'll never regret it. So, the community wise, after I had graduated, I stayed around Owensville and actually put in many, many, many years at Jahabo Industries. And during the course of early in my life in my 20s, I opened up the Bible one day and I said, "You got to serve others." And that's when I started getting very active in the community. My first gig as far as serving was on the park board, which I ended up serving for 30 years. And I eventually joined the Lions Club, was active in the Lions, was president there for a year. I also I was a Mason, a Shriner, and of course, then I was encouraged to run for the Board of Education, which I was privileged to be a part of the Board of Education for 9 years and 6 years as president. So there were some difficult times, but the good thing about it is that we had such a good core of teachers and administrators that the job was actually easy. And as far as a board member, you don't micromanage, you basically govern the policy and you support your administrators and you support your teachers because I know that the support that they needed when I was growing up and when during my tenure on the Board of Education, I know it was very extremely important to give them their support because in the end, it leads with the Board of Education, which trickles down to administration, which trickles down to teachers, which trickles down to the students. So the end result is student success. And I can still tell and am very proud as I look in my closet every morning and see half of my closet with orange shirts. And I still wear orange shirts in a green community. I catch heck about it, but I don't care. I'm still a Dutchman, and I always will be. So, as my as my parents, I had actually had the luxury of retiring at an early age of 50, and to take care of my parents. And my parents became was 98 and 97, so I had had the fortunate opportunity to take care of them for a couple years. And when they passed away, my wife and I, we decided, you know what, we probably need to be with our grandchildren. So my children, who are all graduates of Owensville High School and are very, very successful because of their education at Owensville High School and through the whole system, uh, through their careers, they didn't want to move to the urban areas and raise their children in city environments. So they landed in Jefferson City, which was opportunity for all of them, which they found some really good schools that's very, very comparable to Owensville High School with supporting communities and great athletics. So we followed them, and we're having a great time. We live outside of Wardsville. We have one of my daughters lives in Westphalia, and we have two daughters live in the Wardsville area also. So they go to two families go to Blair Oaks, and one family, they're the younger family. They're actually one of them's in kindergarten at the Immaculate Conception in Jeff City. So those kids will have the choice whether to go to Helias or go to Fatima, depending on what they want to do in their life when they become freshmen. Myself, I got bored when I went to Jefferson City, so I started recruiting insurance agents. I consulted various manufacturers. And then I finally told myself, you know, my love is for the kids because our society is kind of messed up, as you know, and our future are our children. As our teachers and coaches mentored me, I said, I want to do this too. I want to give back. I didn't have a teaching certificate, but I landed myself at the Boys and Girls Club of Jefferson City to where we're catering to about 1,000 children a day. So I'm able to
Wow.
mentor there, provide educational values to many kids in the Jeff City Public School District. We're providing a curriculum, as you know, STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, math. We teach positive action. We have so many various clubs to offer, and they get a warm meal. So it's good to see that our society does have a chance. So that's kind of what I'm doing nowadays.
It sounds like you're a very outstanding and loyal man to this community. Do you think your parents instilled that into you, or you just grew around that?
I think it's a combination. Obviously, the parents taught the work ethics.
Yeah.
They taught personality, how to treat people with kindness at all times. Uh, I attend the church regularly, so I learned my faith. I have a strong faith, and I've learned to be Jesus to everyone. I've learned through my parents and through the community to serve other people. It's not about me; it's about everybody else. So I think if we can continue serving each other and helping each other out, there's great resources in this town. Um, the parents, there's a strong base of parents right here that know what's right. So I think if the children continue listening to the parents and their teachers, their coaches, um, we're going to be just fine.
Now, you were talking about early mornings with sports and working at your house and on your farm. What do you think that did for you as an adult, working hard and having dedication to multiple things at one time?
So many things, so many things. Obviously, taught work ethics. It taught accountability. It taught responsibility. Again, it dove right into the character. It didn't allow me to feel sorry for myself because there wasn't time to feel sorry for myself. You had to get with it. I can still remember when my father and I were working pigs one morning, and I was really feeling sorry for myself. I think I was about a freshman, and he just looked at me in the eyes, grabbed my arm, and looked at me. And says, "You know, one day you're going to have to go to work. You can use your arm, or you can use your hands, or you can use your brain, but keep in mind you're going to have to get out of bed every morning. As long as you get out of bed every morning and go to work and do something, you're going to make something of yourself." And I'll never forget that advice.
And before this interview, I was asking around, seeing what you were big parts of in this community, and I found out you were a ref for some point in time. Do you think that your sports like the love of your sports led to you repping, or was it a coach or maybe a mentor that told you, "Hey, you should pick this up"?
I think it has a lot to do with a lot of people in the community, a lot of former coaches that I had. Um, I think went back to like in the early '80s in the winter. What else is there to do? It's just there's basketball. So the nights are long. It gets dark early. It gets cold. What else is there to do besides go to a gym? And I said, you know what? We were in the early years of our marriage and we didn't have no money. And I thought this would be extra income plus good exercise. So I took off refereeing basketball with the encouragement. My first game was with Bill Seaman. He's the one that got me going. Our first game was at Rosebud Lutheran, and it was a game to where Greg Waymar, I think he's an all-time scorer at Owensville High School. He was a seventh grader, and I'll never forget that Mr. Seaman gave him a technical foul for dunking in the pregame as a seventh grader. So as that year went on, Mark Leach, legendary from Owensville, principal, uh, he had a short stint as superintendent of schools here. He got me into officiating uh, through Misha. So I joined Misha. I continued to grow through my efforts as officiating. I continued. I went out and basically expanded my horizons through different towns. Did a little bit of college. Got into a situation where I had the opportunity to call Division One basketball, and I recognized that my daughters were getting busy. They were starting to get into middle school and getting active, so that was the time to retire from officiating to take care of the family. But as that went on, Misha and the NCAA says, now we need to use your wisdom. We need your efforts to make sure that our referees continue doing what's right, because it's very important. Without sports and without our student athletes, they got to have officials, they have to have coaches. If we don't have officials, we don't have coaches, we don't have sports. So it's very important to me to continue to sharing the wisdom through officiating. So now, uh, for it's been 23 years, and I've been observing throughout the state and mentoring and helping with young officials get better, help with the state championships to get them aligned and get the right people in the right place at the right time. But it's a great experience to see that all the great games of whether it be basketball, football, baseball, and the emphasis of what's so important of supporting our officials and supporting our coaches to make this thing continue.
Yeah, it's one really big process of everybody being able to work well together and just flow well. Um, I'm just wondering, you've been a part of this community for such a long time. What's been your favorite thing about it?
I have people. Oh, there's no doubt it's the people. When we left, it was difficult. It was difficult to swallow. But as I talked to the ladies in the office, when our grandchildren are so active, it kind of reminds me every day of why we had to make the move. But the people in this community, the pioneers of Owensville that saw something in me to give me a chance to make something better in the community. And before I even left, I was an alderman. You know, who would ever thought I'd be an alderman, city alderman? So there was people that challenged me, people that pushed me. I cannot say enough about our teachers and our coaches that saw good in me and pushed me and pushed me and pushed me, and the pioneers that introduced me in to different civic organizations and pushed me to serve. So the community is so strong, and I continue to say that uh, we still have a good core of pioneers in our community. I keep up with the paper. I know a lot of stuff that goes on in Owensville, and I'm very proud to still be a Dutchman.
Absolutely. Being a Dutchman is probably one of the best things in my life. Uh, how was it for your kids being a Dutchman?
Oh, they loved it. They loved it. They followed suit. They were very active. Not only sports, but choir, speech and debate, FFA, band. It's just cheerleading. It's just not about sports.
Mhm.
And I could tell you that while being on the board of education, I'd always encourage my kids to stay active. I don't care if you play the flute in the band. I don't care what you do. Just stay active, because I recognize on the board of education, your best students are busy people. So I can tell through as my children grew up in this great school system, it made them better people. It made them very, very successful. Is because of the education at Owensville.
Now, how is that like juggling your responsibilities and their responsibilities, getting them where they needed to be and helping them with what they wanted to achieve?
I guess basically I kind of set the tone. They saw how important the school system was important to me. They knew to use the great resources of the great teachers, of the great leaders, the great coaches in this school system that was, and then what was with them. I think that they followed my lead and took my advice to follow their lead and to listen. Don't talk, listen, and take that wisdom and apply it accordingly. And I think that's what they did.
Yeah. Last question. What advice do you have for people looking the next stages in life and after high school?
Well, I think there's so many opportunities out there. You're going to, thinking of a 4-year institution. That's great. I can't I cannot tell you how much a vocational education is. State Tech, for example, so impactful for people that can't even afford a 4-year college. It's very expensive, as you know. Uh, Vocational schools like State Tech is unbelievable. You know what? If I ever had to go back and being a senior, I would have joined the service. I would have gotten in the military. I have a son-in-law that's in the military in the National Guard. Uh, I'm really he's been on 2 deployments. Now, talking about serving, another son-in-law who works for the Gary Sinise
Cost
Foundation.
there
And so the
is
foundation, what they do, it's set up for 'em. So there's just so many opportunities out there, and even though that if you don't go to a college, you got to prepare yourself through life skills, and that's what we also do at Boys and Girls Club. Even though that they're not maybe income wise, they can't go to college. We prepare them for life skills to teach them how to the work ethics and teach them how to work, because there's a lot of carpenter jobs. There's a lot of electrical jobs. There's a lot of plumbing jobs. And I guarantee you, there's a lot of opportunity for everybody.
absolutely. And I just want to thank you for coming out.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
No
Go
problem.
Dutchman. Go Dutch girls.